Yo, it's Wiggy, and I'm going in the DMs with Mascarilla. I just turned 21 on March 30th, and I'm from Seattle, Washington.
And what is it exactly that you do?
I shoot videos of all kinds. I started when I was like 11. I skateboarded, and all my friends were a little bit better than me, so naturally I became like the filmer. And I got my dad gave me like an old like fucking zoom camera, little handy cam, like Sony handy cam, and I got a little fisheye for it and just like started going ham. Actually, I originally just got a peephole for a door, like how everybody does, and like put like duct taped it to my camera or something, and then used that as like a fisheye. But then I got my bands up and got a VX and like really did it on that skate shit. So yeah, that's how I started.
So when you were, like in high school filming skating, who were some of your favorite skate brands or skateboarders? Like, what'd you look at for inspiration?
Definitely like the barracks, but like my like local scene was like pretty like prominent. Like there's like a pretty good like local skate scene in Seattle, so like I kind of like was known as like, because all the kids that I filmed were like the like kids that were like pretty good, so like the owner of like the local skate park would like let us all skate for free and shit, and like there's like one of the guys that worked there, his kid was like unbelievably good, but he's like 4, and I just like film all those guys. And like there's like a local brand, Manic, that was like super rare, that went out of business, that like a guy that I like mentored us all kind of growing up. He's like an OG in the skate scene, like, but I don't know. I got really influenced by like the barracks, of course. Like I just put out like a shirt that I like ripped the shoot all skaters gun. But yeah, like the barracks was a huge influence. Like I'm from Seattle, and like when I was like really into skating is when like Corey Kennedy kind of started booming up. So I would like watch him like in battle at the barracks, and like just watched him grow, and like so like anything that he was a part of, like I kind of like stand for a while. But yeah, I don't know, just like the barracks. I like Girl a lot, like Yeah Right, like all the classics. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Well, one of my friends, like one of my good friends' older brother, was MacNed, and so he just hit me up for like a year, being like, let's shoot a music video, like let's shoot a music video. I need to shoot my first music video, like, and like we never really like took it seriously or touched base. But then like one day, I think like 8th grade or freshman year, like I like bust all the way to West Seattle, and like we shot like the first music video ever for him, and like the first music video I had ever shot. And then yeah, then from there I just shot like all his videos. I started getting like recognized for shooting music videos in Seattle and like kind of over the internet. And then hella kids from Seattle would just hit me up for music videos, so I kind of like shot a lot of music videos for like local Seattle rappers for a while, as well as like other internet rappers like Dylan Ross and like other people. But yeah, music I was listening to in high school, like freshman year was like all like Wiz Khalifa and like Juicy J, and like what else, like Chief Keef, like all that shit. I think that was like mainly what I listened to. And then like underground stuff, kind of like, but mostly Wiz Khalifa, I think. Like it was really like I was on my Wiz tip like 8th grade and freshman year. And then like sophomore year, I kind of started like getting more into like underground shit as like Thrax House evolved, kind of. and yeah, I don't know, fuck, like Puya, like a lot of Puya in high school. I met Pete because I came down to LA with like two of my homies from Seattle, and my other homie who's from Seattle had just moved to Seattle a couple months earlier, Lil Pretty, and I met Pete because we just went to Sino's house, Lil Pretty's house, and pulled up, and right when we got there, he was like, "Oh yeah, Peep and Cortex and Smoke are like coming through. They like left something here because they had been like staying at Sino's periodically. They had been staying at Sino's from time to time, or I think for a good chunk of time. They were really like staying at his house. But yeah, so they pulled up. I met them. I said what's up to Peep. He's like, oh, like shot by Wiggy, like. So he'd like heard of me, and I was like kind of hyped because he had just like, I had just started like listening to a lot of his music and like really connected with him, and that was cool because he was like, "Oh, shot by Wiggy, like you shot Oster Montauk, right?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, like it's crazy that you would know that rare Dylan Ross video that got like deleted." So that was like super cool, and then yeah, I met Smoke and Cortex for the first time too. And then, yeah, they dipped, and then like 3 days later, Nedarb was like, "I'm in the studio," and I've known Nedarb since like 2014. So Nedarb hit me up and was like, "Me and Tracy and Peep are working on an EP. Like, we're in this cool little Airbnb. It has a studio, so we're just like gonna be recording all night. Like, you should come through and shoot the video for this song we just did. Like, it's super fire. Like, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, like tight. Like, let me know." And then a couple hours passed. Like, me and my homies like went up to like Griffith Park and like walked around and like smoked a blunt. And then I got like a call from like a New York number, and like I'm always really skeptical about like answering unknown numbers, so I like was like, not answering this. So I just like didn't answer it, and then 2 seconds later I get a text and it's like, "Hey, it's Pete," smiley face. And I was like, "Oh, well, like word." And then he texted me, he was like, "Can you come shoot a video? Like, it's me and Tracy's song, blah blah blah." I was like, "Yeah." And then we left Griffith Park and drove over to this crazy Airbnb that was like owned by the owner of like Sony, or like one of the big like execs at Sony. He like owned the whole complex and like rented it out for Airbnbs or something. And yeah, so we went in. It was like they came and got us we called them and we were like, how should we get in? Because we got to the gate and he's like, "Just like pull in after somebody." And I was like, "Okay." And so like we immediately do that, and the security's just standing right there, and he's like, "Hey, can I help you? Like, what's up?" Like, we're like, "Oh, like our friends just told us to like pull in, blah blah." And then they came out and got us and like brought us in. It's this like nice ass like Airbnb with like a like little like vintage recording studio, and then like just like this crazy painting of Amy Winehouse, and then like the weird little kitchen with the chandelier. And that's when we shot White Wine. So like, yeah, I met him, and then like a couple days later went and we shot White Wine. And then yeah, that's pretty much how I met Pete. I went back to Seattle, and I was still like working a job at like a grocery store, and then he came like a month or two later. He came on the tour with Fat Nick, and I saw him and filmed the set, and yeah. And then a couple months later, came down to LA and stayed at his house, and then that's when we shot Favorite Dress, I believe.
Is that when I met you? Is that when I met you at this house, and then you were shooting a goth video outside where he's like smoking a cigarette?
Yeah,
or something?
that was Died Tonight. Yeah, that was right. Yeah, that was the same time. Yeah, I shot those 2 videos in the same trip. So I came back from LA, was still working my job at Fred Meyer, and Peep called me and was like, "Hey, I want you to like shoot the I'm gonna like fly you out to like shoot my new video. Like, it's called Ben's Truck. It's gonna be like my single off the album. Like, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, tight. Like, that sounds sick. He's like, I'm gonna have my manager call you. Like, he's gonna like figure out a budget and all this shit. And I was like, okay, like, cool. Like, sounds official. Like, tight. Like, so Chase called me, his manager, and was like, what do you need? Like, want to get you down here, shoot the video. And then, yeah, they booked me a flight, and then I came down, and I didn't get like 2 of the last days like off of work. So I was like down there the last 2 days, and they were just like calling me like, where are you? And but at that point I had just been like, I just realized like I wasn't gonna go back. Like, I was just like, fuck that. My parents like have always supported me. Like, it's been iffy, like sometimes I kind of like obviously aren't sure if like any of this is gonna work out, but once like they started seeing Peep do really well, and like just saw me working with him, I think they definitely like saw that for what it was, and like recognized that it was something like kind of big. And so yeah, that was cool, and I know they saw that, so that was cool. But like right when I got back from shooting Ben's Truck, got back to Seattle, is when he called me and told me I was going on tour when he told me that I was shooting Ben's Truck. So it was like I was gonna come out and shoot Ben's Truck and then go back to Seattle and then go on tour. So that's why I had decided that I wasn't gonna go back to my job, because I was like, fuck that, like, going on tour, baby. And
how was life on the road with him?
it was like so sick. It's like the best days ever. It was fucking tight. He flew me straight to Chicago because he was coming off the Europe tour. So he flew straight out of Europe, like straight to Chicago, and then had a show the next day. So he flew me to Chicago to meet him, and I got in like a hour before his flight did. And I get there, and I'm like waiting for like an hour, and then he finally calls me that he just got there, and he's like, we're about to go through customs. But he tells me that he's at like this terminal that I'm like not at, and so I have to like bus or like take the train all the way to the right terminal, find it, then wait like another hour, and I finally see Peep coming out of customs pushing Sherwin, who was his tour manager, in a wheelchair out of customs. Like, Sherwin's just like, looks miserable, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, he's like, oh yeah, Sherwin has kidney stones, let's go get McDonald's. And I was like, all right, like, you're just gonna leave Sherwin here? He's like, oh yeah, he's calling the Uber. Like, I was like, all right. So we got McDonald's and then got the Uber back to the hotel and spent like a night. It was just me and him, and like we like rode around with a fan and like got weed. And my film goal is probably, I mean, to direct movies, probably, in the grand scheme of things. That would be cool. At least a couple times. Work my way to do that. But I don't know. I want to do a lot, like, not just music videos, obviously. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of ideas for stuff, but I don't know. Gotta execute them. Yeah. But yeah, definitely not just music videos. Who was my inspiration growing up? Off rip, like Corey Kennedy comes to mind, because like growing up, when I was like just at the skate park every day, he would like be there, and he wasn't like super known, but he was like locally huge, so it was like super cool to see. There's actually clips on my Vimeo where I like sneaked filmed him, like, and he does like a like big flip 360 on like this little hip at my local skate park, and I like filmed it and like put the clips up, like Corey Kennedy inner space clips, like, and all my friends like made fun of me for like sneak filming him. Like, it's so funny. Louis or Gucci? Gucci. Yeah, I got a Gucci belt and some slides. Lucky number 3. Describe my dream house. I want to live like in the middle of nowhere in like a forest in like a cabin that's like decked out. That would be cool. Away from everybody.
Sounded like a dream.
Yeah, for real. Skate park. The first camera I ever got was I think like a Sony Handycam HC like 63 or something like that. Like a little gray flip out camera. Zoom in and out. Simple like mini Handycam. Took mini DV tapes. Then my second camera was like a similar one. And then I finally upgraded and got a VX 1000.
What do you shoot with now?
Now I shoot with a Sony A7S II. Yeah, but like all my like best videos, all my favorite videos were like shot on a Canon 60D, like white wine and favorite dress and like all that. And I actually sold that camera to a girl named Chloe. Shout out Chloe. And so she owns that camera. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Like,
Yeah.
Peep signed it or something. Or
Yeah.
he signed the box.
Yeah, I like held onto it for hell long on tour, like needed to like ship it out like while I was on tour, so I was just like carrying it, and I was like promised her that I would like get it signed by him. So like I like asked him to, and he like did, of course. But yeah, that's a funny video. That's a good memory. What was my first tat? My first tat was this.
What is it?
It's the swamp monster from Scooby-Doo.
That's insane.
And
what
I-
was the inspiration for that?
Scooby-Doo has always been like probably my favorite cartoon ever. So I've actually always, I have like an old video intro on an old MacNet video where it's like the clip from Scooby-Doo where he's like doing that, and it's like Wiggy Smalls, because I used to go by Wiggy Smalls. Rare fact. So yeah, that was my first tat. I got it at Peep's house, and then immediately after I got that and that. Those were my first 3 tats. Death Beach. Shout out to Death Beach.
Oh yeah.
What was it like working with Peep? Like, sounds hella cliche, but like, just like the best. Like, I don't know. It was just easy, like simple. Like, somehow things always turned out so good. It was mostly because of him. Like, he directed a lot of that shit. Like, he picked certain shots. Like in White Wine, he picked like the shot. He's like, okay, we're gonna have Tracy here, and the light's gonna reflect behind him, and it's gonna be all sick and blah blah. And then I did it, and I was like, yep, perfect. How did you know? And then yeah, so just shit like that. Like, he just had the vision. Sounds cliche, sounds corny, but it's just the truth. Nothing but facts. Whose live shows do I enjoy recording the most? I mean, that's obvious question, obvious answer. What is my favorite place and why? I like LA a lot, and I like Costa Rica a lot, but I just love Seattle at the end of the day. Just the weather and the air, and just because it's my home, probably. But yeah, there's nothing beats Seattle. Go there and you'll see, except if it's raining, which it probably will be. I am single, yeah. Instagram or Tinder. Yeah, I met one girl on Tinder like a couple weeks ago.
Oh really?
Oh, it's such a bad story. It's the only girl I've ever met on Tinder. And
What's the
I'm gonna feel bad telling it. I'm gonna tell it, but I'm sorry. But she, like, I came over and she was like hella drunk, but I didn't realize she was hella drunk. And then we were sitting there watching Reno 911 for like an hour, and then she like just like threw up all over herself.
Oh my God.
But I like didn't realize that she was like that drunk. And yeah, it was pretty awkward.
So you just left. You were
I was actually like felt so bad. Like I was like, I like kept asking her if I could help or like, if I could bring her a towel. I kept bringing her towels. I just like, she just like sat there and was like super like awkward and like felt like super awkward, I guess. But I just like kept trying to help. And yeah.
When you meet girls on Tinder, do they already know who you are?
Some girls do. There's a lot of Peep fans on Tinder.
What are your like Tinder pictures like?
They're kind
Is
of
it like you with rappers or is it
no,
just like
it's
you,
just
what's on
me.
your Instagram?
Yeah, it's pretty much what's on my Instagram. There's like one risque pic on there. My ideal first date is like pretty chill, like not anything special. Like I don't like to do much. I like to just like hang out and like smoke weed and like chill. And like my ideal first date is like, I guess, getting food and like maybe seeing a movie, like chilling and like, I don't know, yeah, just hanging out.